What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Topaz and Numby, the new Honkai Star Rail character. She is a hunt character and she mainly focuses on follow-up attacks for single target damage. Today we're going to be talking about her kit, what you should prioritize, whether it's her talent, skill, ultimate, etc. We talk about characters that she's similar to. We're going to talk about her best light code options from 5 to 4 to 3 star. We're going to talk about her relics. We're going to talk about what stats you should be focused on for your relics, what substats to focus on. We're going to talk about team setups. We're going to talk about certain characters. We're going to go over her eidolons. And then I'm going to go over if I think she's free to play friendly or if she's paid to win. And then I'll give you my opinion on if you should pull for her or not. So to start off, we're going to talk about her kit. You got her basic attack, which is fire damage equal to 50% of her attack to a single enemy. Like every other character, it's not that big. Don't really need to worry about it. Then we're going to talk about her skill, if I can get there. Proof of debt. That's what Numby is going to put on to an enemy whenever he attacks. So instead of talking about the skill, we'll talk about the technique first. Where is the technique? Here it is. Summons Numby when Topaz enters the overworld. So Numby will always spawn in anytime you enter the battle with Topaz. He has a base speed of 80%, a base speed of 80, and anytime a character launches a follow-up, or anytime an ally launches an attack, Numby will do a follow-up attack, advancing his action by 50%. The ultimate, Numby will enter a windfall bonanza state. Damage multiplier is increased by 75% and crit damage increases by 12%. So you're just getting more damage on the Numby. And then, for what I think you should prioritize, I think you should prioritize your ultimate, because that's where a lot of your damage is going to come from. Then, you want to upgrade your talent so you can increase the speed of Numby and you can increase that fire damage. Then you're going to want to get the skill, because proof of debt marking is how you're going to get some of your sub DPS. Because Topaz and Numby is going to be used as a sub DPS. She can be used as a hyper carry main DPS, but she's just not as effective as some other characters like Jing Yuan, Jing Liu, Blade. She's just not as good as some of the others. Even Seela's better. But yeah, you really don't need to focus on her basic attack. But like I said, you should go ultimate, talent, skill, technique, then basic. But you want to level them kind of evenly because she uses all of them except for the basic. Now we're going to talk about some similar characters. Some similar characters we have to start off with. Clara. She's very similar to Clara because Numby's always doing follow-up attacks. It's the same playstyle. You want people to attack Clara so Clara can attack back. She gets 2 stacks for Svarog when her ultimate happens. Same thing with Numby when Topaz uses her ultimate. Numby gets 2 stacks to do extra damage to whoever has the mark on them. Some other similar characters. Himiko's one of them with her fire blade that she throws whenever she gets 3 stacks of it. Jingu Wan's similar with the follow-up attack from his ultimate. And then I guess you could say she's kind of similar to Herta, but Herta's Herta. Don't really want to use Herta. So she's a solid option if you're already far enough in the game and you have your 2 main DPSs for your 2 teams set up. If you don't, I would say skip on her or pull for Seal, however you pronounce her name. Or you could save your gems, because I can guarantee you that there's going to be more characters coming out that are going to be better. Next on, we're going to talk about light cone options. So she is the hunt. So obviously her best light cone is worrisome blissful. Increase the crit rate by 80% and the follow-up attack damage by 30%. When you get 2 stacks, your crit damage dealt is going to increase. So you're getting more crit damage and you're getting more follow-up attack damage. It's her best light cone. There's nothing to say about that. Other ones are In the Night, Sela's light cone, crit rate, and then you get more basic attack and ultimate damage depending on her every 10 points above 100 speed. And you can stack that up to 6 times. So this is her second best light cone in my opinion. And then when we go into 4-star options, her best 4-star option is definitely swordplay. Each time the target hits the same target, damage is increased by 8%, stacking to 5 times, so that's an extra 40%, because Numby's always going to be focusing the person on the mark, and the person that normally has the mark is going to be the boss of the run, or the person with the most health, so you're always going to be focusing that, while your main DPS is going to be hitting everyone with an AoE attack, most likely. Some other 4-star light cones are Only Silence Remains. You get more attack, and if there's 2 or fewer enemies on the field, your crit rate is increased. This is good because your main DPS is going to wipe out the small adds, and you only have the boss left, so you're going to have more crit rate and more attack. And if you don't have any of those options, her best 3-star option is Arrows. More crit rate for 3 turns. Obviously, this isn't the best, but if this is all you have, it's her last option that's viable. Now, we're going to go and talk about relics. So right now, her best relics are, in my opinion, the 2-piece Firesmith for the fire damage, and the 2-piece Musketeers for the attack increase. And I'm saying you shouldn't farm for artifacts at the moment. Use what you have, because later on down the line, there's going to be a new set coming out where it's going to increase follow-up attacks by 150%, or it's like a multiplier of like 1.5. So you could farm for a couple of the pieces, but if you have a decent set, you can put her on 2-piece Firesmith, 2-piece Musketeer, like I said, for the attack of fire damage, or if you have a 4-piece, you can do the 4-piece because Numby is going to be doing a bunch of fire damage. Or you could run the 2-piece Messenger for more speed, which is going to be decent. It's a universally decent set for more speed to get more rotations. And then for the attack ropes and the spheres, you're going to be wanting to run Inert Salsodo, because you'll get crit rate by 8%, and then once it reaches 50%, your follow-up attack is going to be increased by 15%. Numby and Topaz are all about the follow-up attacks. So you're going to want to run 2-piece Inert Salsodo. If you don't have that, though, you can run the 2-piece, it's called the 2-piece Radiant Arena, where I don't have it unlocked yet, but it's where your crit rate goes up by 8%, and once your crit rate is above 70%, your skill damage is increased by 20%, which is good, but like I said, Inert Salsodo is going to be her best option, and if you don't have that, you can always go her to Space Station for extra attack. Now, when we're talking about what you want to run on these sets, obviously for the sphere, you're going to want fire damage. For the rope, you're going to want attack. And then for the artifacts, the head and hands are going to be the same. You got the HP, you got the attack, but the body, you're going to want to focus on crit rate or crit damage, depending on your substats. I would personally run her on crit rate and go for crit damage substats, because if you're using Inert Salsodo, you want your crit rate to be 50% so you can do more follow-up attack damage. And then feet, I personally would put speed on the feet to keep increasing her turn, to get more action in Numby, to increase follow-up attacks, etc., get more energy. Or if you think you have enough speed from your substats, you can also running an attack percentage boots. Substats I think you should focus on, once you get that 50% crit rate, go into crit damage. So if you can run a crit damage body with having 50 crit rate, you could do that. But I'd focus crit rate, crit damage, speed, and then attack. Now team setups. Gonna go back into characters. So like I said, she is going to be used mainly as a sub DPS. I'll tell you about teams where she's the hyper carry, but we're going to go with the sub DPS teams first because that's where she fits more of her role. So you're going to want your main DPS. So you could either run somebody like Imbibiter Lune, Blade, Jing Liu. You could run Jing Huan as well. And then you could also run Himiko. You want a very strong main DPS who's really good at AoE attacks. And then obviously you're going to have Topaz in there as your sub DPS. And then you're going to want to run like a Harmony or Nihility character. I recommend Ting Yun, or for Nihility, Pella for the decreased defense shred, or Ting Yun for the energy and the attack bonus. I prefer Ting Yun over Pella, but that's my opinion. You can run either or. And then as your 4th slot, you're going to want to run a preservation / abundance character. So you can run Fu Xuan or Japard, or if you want to run a healer, you could run Lynx, Natasha, Bailu, whoever you have available as your healer. And there is another team set up to where you can run Topaz with Kafka, but if you're also going to run Kafka, you're going to want to run another Nihility character, such as Sampo, Pella, or Welt, to get those dots, or even Silverwolf, but you're taking away from your support that'll help your sub DPS and your main DPS. So I personally think you should run main DPS, Jingwan, Blade, etc. Then you got Topaz and Numby as your number 2. Your 3rd spot's going to be a support, so I recommend Ting Yun or Pella. And then your 4th slot's going to be either Preservation or Abundance. I recommend Fu Xuan, Lynx, Natasha. And then I will say she can be used with Herta, because Herta has follow-up attacks as well. But I'm going to say it, I don't think Herta is viable. She is the lowest of the lows in my opinion. And it makes sense because she is the first character you get, and you get all of her Eidolons from the hell is it called? I'm blanking. The Ultimate Universe. That's it. Now we're going to move on to her Eidolons. So Eidolon 1, it's pretty much just giving you more crit damage on follow-up attacks inflicted on target enemies, stacks up to 2 times. And it goes away whenever your proof of debt mark is removed. E2, every time Numby takes an action, Topaz is going to regenerate 5 energy to get your ult back quicker. Sorry about that. And then obviously you got your E3 and E5 for your more stats on your levels, which are always going to be nice. E4 gets a speed boost. After Numby's turn begins, Topaz action is advanced forward by 20%. And then number 6, E6, it decreases the fire resistance by 10% whenever Numby attacks. So you'll begin a defense shred, which will be nice. Obviously, all Eidolons are helpful, but I would not recommend... If you do pull for her, I'd recommend you only pull 1. I would not recommend pulling anything past E0. You can get E1 for that crit damage if you saved up enough gems and you like her playstyle, but personally, I would not pull for her. She is very clanky. She has a weird play style. I'm not a big fan of the follow-up attacks. And I'd personally rather have a main DPS, a support, a shield, or a healer, instead of a main DPS, sub DPS, support, shielder, or healer. I like having the shielder and healer on the same time and having one main DPS output all the damage you need. Now, if you do pull for her, is she free to play friendly? I'd say she is. There's a lot of 4 stars that work well with her. So you could run Pella, Tingyun, Serval is the main DPS, and then Himiko, who's on the permanent banner. So you can get her off the beginner wishes from the first 50 that you pull for that free 5-star, or if you lost her 50-50, or if you got her on the permanent banner. And like I said, I don't like her playstyle because it's kind of like Clara's, which I like playing Clara because you shield Clara, buff her up, she does damage. With Topaz, though, she doesn't shield, she's not being focused. It's just extra damage when I think your main DPS will already be able to produce that amount of damage by himself. And then, am I going to pull for her? Like I said, no, I'm probably going to save my Stellar Jades because even though she has some really good value, I don't like her playstyle. And I know there's going to be much better characters coming along the way. But if you have any thoughts, let me know what you think of her. Let me know if you're going to be pulling for her down in the comments. She's a cool looking character. And I love Numby. But I just think that she's going to get power crept real easily. And that her playstyle is going to fall off. Because I don't like the sub DPS role. That's my personal opinion. Anyways, thanks for coming to the video. Drop a comment or a like. Tell me what you think about this new character. I want to see what you guys have to say. Those are my opinions. So I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.